Welcome back to Inglés 4.0, the radio show. Let's go! Advanced. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Advanced Class 27. I'm going to continue on with a review of what we saw at the end of the last class. We were talking about rather than, and I promised that I would continue on with the review. So first of all, we had instead of and rather than, and then we were continuing on with a further look at rather than in the sense of stating a preference. I said, for example, rather than drinking Coke, I drink Pepsi. Okay? But first, this idea of instead of gerund or rather than gerund. So don't phone her, send her an email. Instead of phoning her, send her an email. Rather than phoning her, send her an email. Okay? And I said, don't drive, take a taxi. And you said at home, instead of driving, take a taxi. Rather than driving, take a taxi. Okay? So, don't buy a new one, fix your old one. Instead of buying a new one, fix the old one. Sure, the old one is still good. Rather than buying a new one, fix the old one. Let's not play baseball. Let's play football. Instead of playing baseball, let's play football. Rather than playing baseball, let's play football. Okay? Now moving on to what we were talking about, what I promised that I would review. Again, this idea of rather than, in the case of stating preferences here. So, let's see. They didn't listen to the Beatles. They listened to the Rolling Stones. So then you can say, rather than listening to the Beatles, they listened to the Rolling Stones. Rather than listening to the Beatles, they listened to the Rolling Stones. But you could also say here, instead of listening to the Beatles, they listened to the Rolling Stones. I don't speak Spanish with my mother. I speak English. So, instead of speaking Spanish with your mother, you speak English. Yes. I don't drive a car, I drive a truck. Rather than driving a car, you drive a truck. Exactly. Rather than driving a car, you drive a truck. I don't sleep on a bed, I sleep on a sofa. Rather than sleeping on a bed, you sleep on a sofa. Exactly. I don't work days, I work nights. Rather than working days, you work nights. Days and nights, we say. The night shift. To work a night shift, we say. He works nights. We don't normally say he works at night. We say he works nights. Instead of wearing a suit, I wear jeans and a t-shirt. Well, that's not true. I wish. Ojalá, I wish. Instead of wearing a suit, I wear jeans and a t-shirt. Rather than wearing a suit, I wear jeans and a t-shirt. Instead of watching TV, I listen to the radio. Hey, good idea. Rather than watching TV, I listen to the radio. Good idea. Listen to the radio, yes. Rather than speaking English, I speak Chinese. Instead of speaking English, he speaks Chinese. You speak Chinese. So we can use instead of or rather than, right? They're essentially the same structure. Let's see here. Yes. He doesn't take Saturdays off. He takes Mondays off. Instead of taking Saturdays off, he takes Mondays off. Rather than taking Saturdays off, he takes Mondays off. You can use either one. You can use either form there. Okay? Expression of the day. Oh, yes, it's time for our expression of the day. If someone is driving fast, they're really moving along, when they're doing something very, very quickly, we can say they're doing it at full tilt. Full, F-U-L-L, tilt, T-I-L-T. Kyle explained the grammar at full tilt. He moved through the exercises at full tilt, full speed, without stopping, aggressively moving quickly forward, non-stop, at full tilt. Are you following me? Do you follow me if I speak at full tilt, or should I slow down? At full tilt, at full speed, top speed, maximum, without stopping, at full tilt. Okay? You could say he ran through the stop sign going full tilt, going full speed without stopping, right? Not a good idea. Make sure you drive safe, right? But at full tilt, doing something at full speed, okay, without hesitating, without stopping, at full tilt. That's our expression of the day. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for, well, Class 27, 27.2, and we're looking at the third conditional. So we have some common characteristics of this third conditional. It's not hard. It's not hard, folks. You just have to remember the common aspects that always appear with this third conditional. Okay? So we have if, had, would have. If subject had, subject, well, or object would have something, right? If I had eaten, it can be the if I had eaten the sandwich, I would have been ill. If I had eaten the subject, I would have been ill. If, had, would have, always. Now it can be negative. If I hadn't seen him, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have recognized him. If I hadn't met him 3 months before, I wouldn't have recognized him at the party. If, had, would have, always. Okay? Again, we just like in the second conditional, we can change the order. I wouldn't have known who he was if I hadn't seen him years before. If I hadn't seen him years before, I wouldn't have known who he was. Would you have studied if you had had time? Give me an answer in the affirmative. Would you have studied if you had had time? Yes, I would have studied if I had had time. Yes, I would have studied if I had had time. If I had had time, I would have studied. If I had had time, I would have studied. So we have the verb to have, and the participle is had. The first had is the common characteristic of this structure. If, had, participle, would have. So we have had. It's a sort of a coincidence. We have had, because the second one is the participle of our main verb, to have. If I had had time, I would have studied. Would you have eaten it if it had been ready? Yes, I would have eaten it if it had been ready. Yes, I would have eaten it if it had been ready. If it had been ready, I would have eaten it. Sure. Would we have learned more if we had made a greater effort? Yes, we would have learned more if we had made a greater effort. We would have learned more if we had made a greater effort. Would she have called me if she had had more battery left? Imagine the battery. Oh, the battery was dead in her phone. Would she have called me if she had had more battery left? That's what I'm always thinking. When a girl I call a girl and she doesn't answer my call, oh, it must be her battery in her phone, right? That must be why she doesn't answer my calls. Yes, I suppose. Would she have called me if she had had more battery left? Yes, I like to think. Yes, she would have called me if she had had more battery left. Would you have tried if you had had the opportunity? Yes, I would have tried if I had had the opportunity. Would you have made your own if there hadn't been one available at the time? Yes, I would have made my own if there hadn't been one available at the time. I would have made my own if there hadn't been one available at the time. Would she have asked for help if she had needed it? Yes, she would have asked for help if she had needed it. If she had needed it, she would have asked for help if she had needed it. If she had needed it, she would have asked for help. Would we have been rewarded if we had done better? Yes, we would have been rewarded if we had done better. Of course, we would have been rewarded if we had done better. If we had done better, we would have been rewarded. Yes. Would you have taken your bicycle if the car had broken down? Yes. I would have taken my bicycle if the car had broken down. If the car had broken down, I would have taken my bicycle. Definitely. If the car had broken down, I would have taken my bicycle. Would we have worked together if it had been possible? Yes, we would have worked together if it had been possible. We didn't work together because it simply wasn't possible. We couldn't have worked together. But if it had been possible, we would have worked together. Okay? Are you following me? If you don't follow, make sure you review in your student manual. Make sure you review this grammar, in the student guide, I should say, and on television. The explanations on TV that Richard gives are very, very good. Make sure you review all that and come back and listen to the class over again through the website. For all you subscribers out there, okay? Be sure to pay close attention to both the radio show and the TV classes, all right? Vocabulary of the day. Okay, yes, it's time for the vocabulary of the day. Starting with our first word today, habilidad or pericia. Habilidad. Expertise. Now, we don't say expertise, but expertise. Expertise. Expertise, yes. So someone has a very specific skill. A very specific ability is their expertise. Manso. Manso. I like that word in Spanish. Manso. Tame. 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 Make sure you close your lips with the M. Tame. He's a tame lion. Manso. Manso. Tame. We say it's written as tame, but T-A-M-E. Tame. Tame. Volumen. Volume. Volume. With a nice V. Vibrating my lips. Volume. Vibrating, activating the vocal cords. Okay? The V is like a vocalized F. I've said it about 10 times so far on the programs. If you're listening, you'll know this. That the V is essentially an F with the vocal cords activated. So we start with the F. We add the vocal cords and we have very good V. Victory in Valencia. Very good V. Very good. Volume. Volumen. Volume. Please never say volume. If you pronounce it as a B, a native English speaker probably won't understand what you're saying. Because for us, there is no similarity between the B and the V. There's a very special similarity, a very special relationship between the V and the F. They're essentially the same, except the V has the vocal cords activated. It is a voiced sound, whereas the F is not. But my mouth is in the exact same position. Merluza. Merluza. Hake. 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 H-A-K-E. Hake. Hake. Yes. I like seafood. This is interesting. You have a lot of very specific seafood vocabulary, and everyone in Spain seems to know these words, whereas in most Anglo countries, most native English speakers aren't as familiar with seafood words as you are in Spanish with your seafood words. I mean, a hake. It wouldn't be so normal to see hake, or for a normal person to know really the difference between hake and other similar types of fish. You know, you might see it on a menu, but merluza, you see, is very, very common. I'll say merluza. To see merluza on a menu in Spain is much more common than to see hake written on a menu in any North American place, I would say, in my personal opinion. And I come from the east coast of Canada where we fish a lot. There's a lot of fish, a lot of halibut on the east coast of Canada, which is a white fish. Burocracia. Bureaucracy. Now the BU, bureaucracy. So bureaucratic people. There is a lot of bureaucracy. Be careful with the pronunciation there. Bureaucracy, not boo, but bureaucracy. So we have the BU, bureaucracy. We have TU, chew, like Portugal. And then the DU, during, durante, during, not during, but during. Then we have bureaucracy and Portugal. So the BU, TU, and the DU pay special attention in pronouncing those sounds. And as you develop, you have a high level of English, right? If you're following this class, you have a good level of English. But it's these fine details that if you make a special effort with these things, with these details, you can really impress people with your English, right? You know the grammar. And if you develop a good grammar base and you supplement that with good pronunciation of the things that you already know, you will be perceived as having a much higher level. And you'll seem much more professional, and people will take you more seriously when you're speaking English. So make an effort. That's the key to everything. Just make an effort, okay? Let's move on and practice again with a third conditional, this time with some negative answers. Would we have won if we hadn't trained? So, en voz alta, answer at home. Would we have won if we hadn't trained? No, we wouldn't have won if we hadn't trained. Would you have played if you had broken your leg? No, I wouldn't have played if I had broken my leg. Would she have asked for help if everything had been fine? No, she wouldn't have asked for help if everything had been fine. Would you have worked if you hadn't had to? No, I wouldn't have worked if I hadn't had to. Would you have driven there if there had been a bus? No, I wouldn't have driven there if there had been a bus. I wouldn't have driven there if there had been a bus. And remember, we can change the word order. Well, we can change the order of the condition and the conditional. If there had been a bus, I wouldn't have driven there. I wouldn't have driven there if there had been a bus. Would you have bought the CD if you hadn't liked the music? No, I wouldn't have bought the CD if I hadn't liked the music. If I hadn't liked the music, I wouldn't have bought the CD. Would you have fixed it if it hadn't been broken? No, I wouldn't have fixed it if it hadn't been broken. And the other way around? If it hadn't been broken, I wouldn't have fixed it. All right, well done, folks. Do you remember the expression of the day? At full tilt. We're moving ahead at full tilt through the content here. Full speed ahead. Let's go. We're going to finish the class, but please join me again tomorrow, right? Tune in again. Same time, same place. My name's Kyle Miller. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.